First at noon, there's a large police presence at Diamond Head as the state and city conduct another sweep of the homeless encampments in the area. This video is just into our newsroom. HPD and sheriffs are on site as camps are cleared from around Diamond Head Road. We're told the city's crisis outreach response and engagement program is also there to help connect individuals with shelter and services. A similar multi-agency operation was conducted last month. We're going to have much more on this story coming up on later editions of HNN. Now to an update on the Kapolei wildfire that was highly visible throughout West Oahu. At last check, the blaze was 95% contained. This is what it looked like last night. Crews were called to the scene near the Kapolei Commons shopping center at around 8:15 last night. We're told it started as a rubbish fire, which quickly spread to areas of dry brush along Kapolei Parkway. HFD says no homes or structures were threatened and no evacuations were ordered. Well, after days of delays, Kauai County says all residential trash should have been picked up by 11 a.m. today. The county's solid waste division said an unexpected staffing shortage caused the island-wide problem. If your trash has not been collected yet, call the county at 808-241-4841. Dante Miller pleaded not guilty to attempted murder yesterday. The 51-year-old is accused of shooting a man in Kalihi earlier this month. He's now being held without bail. His trial is set for September 22nd. And an arrest in a violent armed robbery in the Kalailoa area, and the suspect is just 16 years old. It happened 2 Fridays ago, just before midnight. Police say a pair of suspects threatened a pair of 19-year-old men with guns before assaulting them. They then made off with the victim's things. Police caught up with the suspect at around 8 last night and took him into custody. He's been released pending investigation. The other suspect remains on the run. And we learned more details about that Hawaii Island girl who was found yesterday in Arizona after going missing. 6-year-old Violet Coultas was found at a women's shelter in Cottonwood. That's about 100 miles north of Phoenix. Authorities say the little girl was found safe, asleep, and undisturbed. She's now in the custody of the Arizona Department of Child Safety. Officers arrested the child's mother, Sarah Coultas, for violating a court order by allegedly taking the child from Pa'awilo to Arizona. She's been booked for custodial interference in the case. The woman known as the Doomsday Mom was sentenced to life in prison by an Arizona court today. She was found guilty in 2 separate trials earlier this year for conspiring to commit murder. Her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, and her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreau. Lori Vallow-Daybell is already serving 3 life sentences in Idaho for the murders of including her 2 youngest children. Relatives of the victims spoke ahead of her sentencing.
You spent your entire life chasing cameras, applause, and validation like oxygen. But here you are, exposed, convicted, stripped of the lies you wrapped yourself in.
Vallow-Daybell also spoke in court today. She blamed an unfair justice system for her punishments, and she appeared to wink toward the victims' families as she left the courtroom. President Trump left for Scotland today to visit his golf courses there and talk trade, but he couldn't escape questions about his connections to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Erica Brown has more from Washington, D.C.
President Trump faced more questions about Jeffrey Epstein Friday as he departed for a trip to Scotland.
People should really focus on how well the country's doing, or they should focus on the fact that Barack Hussein Obama led a coup.
In Florida, the president's former personal attorney and now Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche wrapped the second day of questioning with Epstein's co-conspirator and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell.
They asked about every possible thing you could imagine.
Maxwell's attorney said she answered every question without the promise of anything in return.
Of course, everybody knows Miss Maxwell would welcome any relief. She's been in very difficult conditions for 5 years.
President Trump says he has not considered a pardon for Maxwell.
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
The president says he plans to talk trade with foreign leaders during his overseas trip as his tariff deadline quickly approaches. The president touched down in Scotland and confirmed he'll be meeting with the head of the European Union to discuss a trade agreement.
With the European Union, I think we have a good 50-50 chance. That's a lot.
Trump says the EU will need to lower their tariffs on American goods to strike a deal. Erica Brown, CBS News, Washington.
Here at home, a council vote on Maui advances a bill that would ban thousands of vacation rentals. Now, the bill still faces 2 more votes, but yesterday's roll call showed that most council members support the mayor's proposal. Ben Gutierrez has both sides.
Chair, that's 6 ayes, 3 noes. Motion passes.
Member?
The County Council's Housing and Land Use Committee voted to approve Bill 9, which will phase out about 7,000 vacation rental units in apartment districts, including 2,000 in West Maui.
It was supposed to be for residents, not swallowed up by the tourism industry, which is what happened. And this is reclaiming housing for our residents.
When we did a deep dive on these properties, majority of them were built as multifamily homes. And unfortunately, they were swallowed up by the tourism industry.
Lahaina Strong has been pushing hard for the measure, with members protesting on the beach at Ka'anapali to get more long-term housing, especially after the Lahaina wildfire.
So we were seeing a dire housing crisis before the fire, and then we lost over 2,200 structures in the fire, and a lot of that was our local housing for our people.
More than 300 people testified over 6 public hearings. Supporters and opponents are at odds over what's best for the economy.
Let's move forward and pivot and get these folks, let's diversify our economy. We cannot all put our golden eggs in one basket.
During this phase out period of 3 to 5 years, depending on the area, as introduced today by amendments, that they're going to magically figure out how to diversify the economy and create housing for people when we haven't been able to do that for the last 40 years.
Caitlin Miller of the Maui Vacation Rental Association also contends that the measure will not produce the results that its supporters say it will have.
We really don't have to look further than Oahu and their short-term rental ban to look at the data that doesn't support that it worked. In places like Kailua in the North Shore, it hasn't made a meaningful impact in housing prices or long-term rental prices and affordability.
I'm disappointed that the impacts and consequences are not addressed. They're not. There's no clear path forward.
Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
On Oahu, the City Council is still trying to force Honolulu police to release more information about emergencies and criminal activity in real time. The Council Public Safety Committee voted to advance a bill to require HPD to let news outlets listen to police radio transmissions to help guide news decisions. TV news executives testified yesterday that HPD's current system provides delayed or incomplete updates, and that makes it harder for the media to keep people safe. But the interim chief says allowing the media to hear radio traffic interferes with investigations, breaks information laws, and violates citizens' privacy.
Because that's the stuff we want to keep private, right? That's the stuff if we were going to your house, you wouldn't want people to know, right?
We won't report anything that isn't vetted and verified. We need to go to the story, get the correct information out quickly and responsibly. With scanner access, our job in protecting the public improves tenfold.
Because if you folks come up with a written agreement, we don't need the bill, right? But the bill is there to kind of make you guys work it out.
The bill now faces more hearings. Meantime, Interim Chief Vanek said instead of offering access to radio communication, he is increasing his communication staff to issue more alerts to the media.
Thank you very much. On this Friday, let's take a look at what we've got for you. Surf first for you. North and west facing shorelines flat to 2, so small surf there. Maybe great for the families in the small keiki. Town spots are 1 to 3. East facing shorelines 2 to 4. Your UV index is at 13. That's going to be extreme. Coming up in a couple of minutes, we're going to give you an idea of what's happening south of the islands. It may bring us some moisture in the next couple of days, and also your 7-day forecast.
Thank you, Billy. Ahead on This Is Now, Maui's police chief defends the cost of a new helicopter to fight crime and fires. Plus this.
Intense heat is baking huge parts of the country, with at least 100 million Americans facing heat alerts. I'm Bradley Blackburn with more on the heat dome and another wave of flash flooding.
Welcome back. The Maui Police Department now has a new tool, a helicopter with tech unlike any other in the state. Chelsea Davis gives us a first look.
A blessing to unveil the Maui Police Department's new helicopter named Hekili, or Thunder in Hawaiian. Law enforcement officials say this twin engine with night vision technology will take the county to new heights.
The aerial vantage point combined with powerful optical zoom, which also has an automated license plate reader that can read a license plate from over a kilometer away. Means suspects can be monitored safely from above, reducing risk to officers and the public and allowing for a coordinated response.
MPD says this aircraft will enhance surveillance, improve response times, deter and prevent crime, help with hostage, barricade, search and rescue, and disaster response. Authorities say it's also a vital asset for firefighting, with enough power to do water drops in gusty conditions.
Hekili can sustain winds up to 50 miles per hour. The chief says this is the safest the county has ever been before.
Our relationship between the fire department and the police departments is as strong as it's ever been. It really does double Maui County's capabilities when it comes to fires and rescues, and adds to our air assets, which is huge.
The county paid $1.3 million up front and will pay Windward Aviation about $2 million a year to maintain, manage, and operate it.
And now we have something that will give us eyes in the sky, that will enable our officers on the ground to be covered in a manner that they never had before in this department, on this county.
The chief says it's a smart investment.
When you think about the cost of a human life, or you think about the price of a house, for us to have the ability to fight fires at the same level of Air One right now, that's pennies on the dollar when you think about it. And what if it was your loved one that was missing? And now we've got a roadmap that the entire state can follow, and Maui County is going to be safer for it.
Reporting in Kahului, I'm Chelsea Davis for Hawaii News Now.
More than 100 million Americans are facing heat alerts from Texas to Maine, with feels-like temperatures topping 105 in many places. Now, the intense heat comes as part of the country continues to deal with the dangerous flash flooding. Bradley Blackburn has more.
Flooding caught bikers and drivers off guard in parts of Kansas City, Missouri, after storms dumped nearly 4 inches of rain overnight.
I've lost a car before in flooding, and this area is pretty well known for flooding. It flooded last week.
For the third time in less than a month, flash floods inundated residents in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Dramatic video captured Thursday shows muddy waters sweeping away a home as the storm moved through. This drone footage reveals the extensive damage left behind in the Chicago metro area, where high winds uprooted trees onto homes. And the extreme heat dome baking the country has now moved east. Moisture trapped in the air is driving up heat indexes. Here in New York City, forecasters expected it to feel as hot as 105 degrees or even higher.
It feels like the desert, but instead of sand, it's like concrete.
As temperatures rose, New Yorkers flocked to city pools to beat the heat.
There's like a lot of things to do, but the pool just seemed like a really good idea today.
Despite the intense heat, the Disaster Relief Network in Austin says volunteer turnout remained strong after those devastating floods in central Texas.
With this temperature and with the humidity the way it is, we tell them to alternate water, and then electrolytes.
Volunteers' shifts are now limited to 3 hours in the heat. Cooling tents and medical staff are also available to provide relief. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Stories like that make me thankful that we have the best weather on the planet. Here's a live look outside on this Aloha Friday. Beautiful conditions as we head into the weekend. Billy V is going to have your full forecast when we come back.
Alert weather with Billy V.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get into your first alert forecast. We're going to show you what we have developing south of the islands that it may affect our weather as we get later on into the weekend. First of all, 40% chance of something developing here in the next in the next 7 days. This is south of the islands. You can see that we've got the Hawaiian Islands. This is coming up tonight at 9 p.m. You can see some activity down here near the equator, but see the islands here. It looks like we're going to get some moisture, more moisture as we get towards Wednesday, and the possibility here, we're looking at the forecast of a tropical depression developing in the eastern Pacific that may push its way towards the Hawaiian Islands. We're watching that carefully here on your first alert station. Here's what we've got for you today. It's going to be a nice day for you. Dry and sunny skies. That's the forecast. As a matter of fact, it was clear when we got up this morning. The sunshine is going to stay with us as we get here into the midday, and then as we get into the afternoon, that sunshine will continue. Once again, drier conditions, maybe a few windward and Mauka sprinkles cools, and then hoping we'll get some more moisture in the overnight hours. Here's your 7-day forecast for you so you can kind of plan ahead. First of all, dry this weekend, and the winds are going to become a little bit lighter. So we're going to notice that as we get into Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 15 miles per hour, daytime high near 89 degrees. Not a lot of moisture out there. And then as we get in towards Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we'll see an increase in the winds. However, when we get to Wednesday, Thursday, there may be some cautionaries up for some of the fire conditions and hazards, because you look at the winds will pick up, and it'll be really dry conditions, daytime high near 89 degrees. We're watching it for you here. That's your latest right here on Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Billy. Well, mission accomplished, and hopefully a record is set. A father-son team arrived at Hilo Bay 48 days after rowing across the Pacific from San Francisco. Jim Mendoza has their incredible story.
For 48 straight days, Tim Crockett and his son Harrison shared a small space aboard a 24-foot boat as they rowed their way across the Pacific Ocean. Solar panels powered onboard systems, but paddle power was all on them. It was physically demanding.
Day 17. Big seas, big winds. Hoping for a little bit of sun, but other than that, all good. We never got to pack away our foul weather clothing, because even to 24, 48 hours ago, we were still experiencing large rain events.
Tim crossed the Atlantic Ocean in a solo row back in 2018, so he knew what to expect. But Harrison says early on, it felt like more than he bargained for.
For a bit, it was doubtful. It was like, this is hard. I want to get off. This sucks. But as I went on, I found I was able to just do it.
Hopefully this will be the one and only time we need to do this, because of the opportunities have been few and far between.
They named their crossing Tame the Kraken, a reference to conquering the mythical ocean creature that sank ships. The rowing challenge was their Kraken. To maintain a steady pace, they worked round the clock, switching off in 2-hour shifts, but rest came in short spurts.
Sleep is
a luxury.
Is probably anywhere between 60 minutes to 90 minutes if you're lucky.
They set out to become the first father-son team to row across the Pacific with no outside help. All they need now is confirmation that they set the record.
I know his character and what he's good at coming into this, and I knew that would complement me. So we made a good team, and then just the time alone together allowed us to sort of develop our own father-son relationship.
Hey, Mom. How's it going?
At 19, Harrison is the youngest person to complete the trek known as the Mid-Pacific Route from San Francisco to Hawaii.
At the end of day 45, going into day 46, probably our last opportunity to show us rowing by moonlight.
There were many eye-catching moments, but there's one they will never forget.
It was a pod of dolphins that went by. It was like 10 or so. They had like a baby or two. It was absolutely beautiful. They went by, they were going by the boat. It was like sun kind of set, so it was beautiful outside. I mean, absolutely wonderful. In the distance, there was like a double rainbow.
The father and son also rowed to raise funds for a nonprofit that provides recreational rowing opportunities for military veterans who are working through mental health issues and other challenges.
I volunteer on a veterans and adaptive rowing program in Atlanta, and I've seen how rowing has benefited these vets.
On Sunday, the Crockett's finally made their way into Hilo Bay, the finish line that signaled the end of a very epic journey. I'm Jim Mendoza for Hawaii News Now.
What an incredible accomplishment. Now still to come, keiki at a public housing project in Kalihi are gifted free school supplies ahead of the new school year. We have that story coming up in today's Good News Now. Time for some good news now. A robot named Abby was designed to bring joy and friendship to the elderly. The colorful robot is changing the way residents at a nursing home in Australia connect and cope with loneliness. Abby can blow bubbles, recognize faces, sing songs, tell stories, and remember past conversations. Abby can also lead group classes like Tai Chi, and she speaks 90 languages. Creators say Abby helps build emotional connections. Well, ahead of the new school year, Keiki in need were gifted bags of free school supplies today. For the 8th year, Island Insurance and Better Tomorrows teamed up to help more than 375 kids who live at the towers at Kuhio Park Housing Community. Their bags were filled with supplies like binders, pencil cases, notebooks, crayons, and more. And each bag was tailored to the individual student and what they would need for their grade. With the cost of school supplies going up, just like everything else, parents say distribution events like this are a lifesaver.
Because with all the bills and my husband being the only one who's working, it takes off a little bit of, weight from his shoulder from paying all the bills and everything.
Now, when it comes to school supplies, the National Retail Federation estimates that families, get this, spend an average of $586 per K-12 child. Organizers of this event say they chose to help the families at the towers at Kuhio Park because they tend to be larger in size with an average annual median income of about $15,000. What a great cause there. Well, let's take one last look outside on this Aloha Friday. We made it to the weekend, everybody. More news first at 4 right here on KHNL. Mahalo for watching. We'll see you then.